Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. What I'm going to show you today for new viewers and new to the case may shock you because of the discrepancies and how vastly it's changed in regard to Kaden, Pressy, Elisha and anyone else speaking on behalf of them when it comes to times. It seems to be a bit all over the place from the key time stamp at 2:42, 3 in the morning, 3:15, 3:20 and anything else. We've got like a screenshot dump collection all in one today over time from different people. Share it with you. Don't get too confused. Just look at it. You don't have to internalize it. It's just as a collection. I'm going to sort through it myself, react raw to it. There'll be bits I've seen before, maybe others I have not. Trying to understand what the hell's going on, who's right, who's wrong, who's lying, who's telling the truth, and how many discrepancies are there. We've already seen it between Elisha and Kaden. It's been a bit all over the place and it doesn't help the general public either, and it's not really cleared up with time. So welcome to those that are present during the live premiere. Yeah, we're doing a live premiere today, different format, pre-recorded video. Share your live reactions, chat box on the right. Leave your comments down below to spread that awareness on the case and let me know your thoughts and if you've got any questions. Pinned message too with a PayPal link if you want to support the channel. And for the full playlist and additional videos, top right eye symbol with the drop down menu box, you'll be able to find it there. I was absolutely shocked by the performance of the live stream that I did last night in terms of the Kenny Veach case. Only 249 people. What? Yeah, something definitely going on there. Besides that, I've got to adapt now. I've got to make adjustments. But right now, we're locking back in, catching up with some screenshots and just getting it out of the way so it does not pile up on top. Yeah, this is the thing. Other people out there may have many screenshots of many conversations of different people, and as important as it is, it's very cluttering and very overwhelming, and all it takes down the line unexpectedly at some point for evidence to come out, for the truth, and then it can wipe away all that extensive bloatware material and screenshots, and it just makes it easier for everyone. But that hasn't happened yet. In the meantime, we'll just work with what's available and also look back. It is to do with the highway situation. It is to do with Georgia leaving at what time, supposedly. Georgia and Breely, when Elisha and Melissa had showed up, etc. It's just all about that. I guess it came from recent conversations to do with the highway and others wondering at what time did they meet, cross paths with one another, drive by one another, who was closer to the party house, who was further away from it. And, you know, I've given my thoughts and I could possibly add it on later and if not, in a future video. Right now, without further ado, let's start off with the screenshot conversations, more so from Facebook point of view. Here we are with the first one you may be familiar with on the Noah Presgrove Army page, the unofficial one, but one of the more second most popular page on Facebook, besides the Justice run by an anonymous member of a post. More importantly, the comment section below it is where Abby Gilmore showed up at the time. This is old, just so you know, at least in 2024, quite early on. I'll zoom in just to make it a bit easier for yourself. We have done some coverage on this in the past. Abby Gilmore says, Breely is my sister and left by 2 in the morning as of Monday. So that would be September 4th. She didn't drive. Breely didn't drive. Breely called her sisters and was picked up by my older sister, Abby's older sister. Breely was gone before anything went down, as in like Noah's death, as in I guess the bathroom situation, possibly the side-by-side rollover as well earlier before the death. Anyone else have any questions, feel free to message me. Okay? That pretty much clears that up. Breely and Georgia had left by 2 in the morning and Breely had called her older sister bit lower down, added on. Abby says, no, that's correct. She didn't drive. Leaving the party was what I meant. My other two sisters came to pick them up and drove her car home. So one sister was driving Breely and Georgia back home, or at least up to a certain point before Melissa and Elisha stepped on in and intervened. And then the other sister was driving Breely's car home, because if Breely can't drive back home, we don't want the car left behind, because who's going to collect it? So that all makes sense there. And how well does this combine or complement what Elisha may have said, Kaden Pressy may have said, on and on? We'll find out, won't we? So, this Facebook Messenger convo with Justin Roy, not too sure who the person was in the blue box. Zoom in just a little bit. Justin says, and I agree, there's definitely something going on there. I was absolutely shocked when I found out she went to pick up Georgia. She, as in who? Elisha, Melissa? Or Georgia, Breely's sister? I wonder. At 2:45 a.m. roughly. That's still odd to me, and I do question it. Why? Why is it odd? I mean, look, I'm just going to put it out there pretty quick. And I said I was going to give you my thoughts, so we'll do it now on the spot, and then we'll see if anyone agrees. Just a bit before 2 or so. Right, left by 2, or just a bit before 2 in the morning. Driving down the highway, Melissa and Elisha, at what time did they set out to drive? Well, to put it into perspective, Elisha, I believe, had called Melissa about Melissa's daughter, Georgia, being at the party and drunk, needing to be picked up. Elisha made that call to alert Melissa at about 1:51 in the morning. 1:51 in the morning, round it up to 2 in the morning. Well, by 2, Breely, Georgia have already left the party house and driving north down the highway, supposedly. Give or take some time for Melissa to pick up Elisha. 10-15 minutes of waiting. And then it was said 45 minute drive down the highway to the party house, or up until they crossed paths with Breely and Georgia. So 2 in the morning at the latest, Breely, Georgia leaving. 42 minutes later, Elisha makes that call to Kaden to say, we've got Georgia. So take that into consideration, that time difference. So, anything else? Interesting how Justin says 2:45. Well, 2:42 or so, when we've seen it mentioned elsewhere. But, you know, give or take a little time difference, there's a few minutes out, a few minutes early, a few minutes late, depending how it's been worded about online. It's understandable. I think at one time you thought foul play as well. What changed? What changed? Oh, I wonder who Justin is having a conversation with here, because, yeah, there have been people that have changed their ideas and outlooks on the possible cause of death, and then Justin has then felt, well, if you've changed your mindset, are you being paid off? Have you been harassed? Is there an unnatural presence forcing you to change? I said, I don't know who the person is in the convo, but you could guess. But their response, I think their inconsistencies and lies being exposed honestly puts them all under scrutiny. That police interview with Kaden changed my whole perception, and then the weird times with Kathy Bingham in the video. My guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this Tim Daniel by any chance communicating with Justin? Then this one appears to be on YouTube as a reply, as to whom left a comment unknown because it doesn't show the name. But it says, Melissa SUV. She says her 2:43 call, or 2:42, same exact thing. So Elisha's call at that time was saying she was almost home with Georgia. That's impossible. More than likely, it was to say we're almost there. Even though it looks suspicious, I don't believe anything bad. However, it's showing how nobody's stories coincide. Jack's is more simple and accurate with timestamps. It's more simple, but it's not rich with understanding. That's a drawback. And a lot of the stuff that's filled in by Jack isn't first-hand accounts or what he witnessed. It was what others had seen or saw and feeded to Jack, and Jack decided to implement it in his timeline. And that's a problem because it's a personal timeline. You did not see or hear that, other people did, so you shouldn't be including it in yours. Kind of cross paths in an unnatural way. Now, yeah, the mention of trying to figure out was Elisha calling Kaden to say, we're on the way home, we're nearly home, we're at home, and we've got Georgia back. Comes down to language and wording and how you interpret it, of course. Ever since, there's been a bit more of a consensus, and I've looked at it as well, as in 2:42 in the morning. They've just obtained Georgia from the highway after parking up, etc. And they're about to set off to go home, maybe. Possibly. Yeah. Was there anything else to mention here? Elisha, at one point on Facebook, said, in response to Stevie Howard, which is Carter Combs, Avery Howard's mother. Stevie Howard, who said he was asleep at 2 in the morning? He, we're back to this again, no names, no initials. I believe Elisha is referring as he to Kaden Pressy. Who said Kaden was asleep at 2 in the morning? Well, if we're talking about Kaden, from interpretation only, Kaden said himself he went to sleep at 2 in the morning, so, yeah. Elisha, he did drift off whilst she was still in the house. Right, so Kaden drifted off to sleep at what time? But Kaden didn't lay on the couch until around 3 in the morning. Well, that is a major problem, isn't it? Elisha then says, Isaac Rojas was the only other person in that house asleep at that time. What, at 3 in the morning? So he's saying Mikey, Leah, and Brylan Sweat did not go to sleep? Well, it may make sense with Mikey, because it's been claimed Mikey never went to sleep. And at what time was it? 2:32. You've got the footage of Pepe and Mikey under that traffic barrel, awake, at times when Kaden was supposedly asleep, or at least resting. Got to take in mind, Kaden himself worded it as, I went to sleep 2 in the morning, and then 42 minutes later woken up by my mom Elisha calling. Then I went back to sleep around 3 in the morning, as parts in True Crime interview and what he had to say there. Differs greatly to the police interview, which we'll get to a bit later, with screenshots and transcripts, which obviously is very important. Kaden, though, did say that at round 2, when he was going to sleep, Brylan, Mikey, Isaac were resting. And there's a difference between resting and sleeping. It's worth taking that into mind. So if Isaac Rojas was the only other person in the house asleep alongside Kaden at 3 in the morning, are you saying that Brylan and Mikey, what, were they still resting on the floor furniture or completely elsewhere? What Elisha says here does not back up with what Kaden Pressy has said, right? To lay on the couch until around 3 in the morning. Around 3 in the morning is when Kaden decided to lay and then what, go to sleep. Yet Kaden said he went to sleep at 2 in the morning. Kaden may have tried going back to sleep at 3 in the morning. Maybe there's a breakdown in communication between Elisha at the time and Kaden, getting it mixed up. When Kaden said, I went back to sleep at 3 in the morning, Elisha thinks, interprets it as Kaden went to sleep for the first time at 3 in the morning. How do you mess that up? If you say you're going back to sleep, that's different to going to sleep for the first time. But maybe Elisha got mixed up or only saw it from one perspective of Kaden. Because at the end of the day, if you remember, Kaden Pressy was the one, first Facebook statement made by him where he claimed he went to sleep at 3 in the morning. Then came the Partners in True Crime interview and Kaden said, I went to sleep at 2 in the morning. Either you went to sleep at 3 in the morning or you went to sleep at 2 in the morning. Well, in Partners in True Crime interview, he went to sleep at 2 in the morning, woken up at 2:42, and then went back to sleep around 3 in the morning. So maybe his initial Facebook statement was worded incorrectly, or maybe his statement made in Partners in True Crime interview was incorrect. One might be right, the other one may be wrong. And maybe Elisha only saw one of them, like the Facebook statement, as in going to sleep at 3 in the morning. That's why she quotes it here. It would make more sense that, but it is an unfortunate misunderstanding and breakdown in communication. Besides that, Elisha says Kaden never loaded her. Loaded her in his vehicle, I guess, for a ride. You're making that up. She, as in Georgia, was walking and went to her sober friend's car. Breely. Stop it. Well, may have happened, but sober friend's car. So, what? Why is it? This is weird. Elisha is wording it as Georgia drunk, her sober friend's car, that Breely was sober. Elisha is stating at that time that Breely was sober, and yet one of Breely's sisters says, Breely is my sister, she didn't drive. Right. And to interpret that, it might have not been mentioned quite here, but because Breely being too drunk to drive. Pretty common sense. If you've driven down there, but you can't drive back, it's probably because, for example, you're drunk. Can't be drunk driving. So there's already contradiction, isn't there? With one of Breely's sisters and what Elisha says here. Not direct, I know. But from what we've heard elsewhere and scattered about, the reason why Breely had to contact her sister or sisters is because she was too drunk to drive home. So Georgia couldn't get a lift that way, so Georgia had to rely on Breely's sisters to come on down. And yet Elisha's stating it here that Breely was sober, but elsewhere we've heard not. So, very weird. Right? And Elisha has to cheat to say, stop it with the not accusing you mess. Rumours get started by the nonsense that you posted. Elisha, even if it's by accident, you've done the same thing when it comes to discrepancies and confusion with or without Kaden and mixed up with other things in between. It's all over the place. Besides that, Stevie Howard. I don't know if this was the initial response to Elisha's hair, but we'll read it anyway. You said after she left, he went to sleep. Right. So she, as in Georgia, once Georgia had left, Kaden went to sleep. That kids loaded her, correct, into a vehicle. Kaden helped? Question. You both state after he did, he went back in and went to sleep, but you picked her up a mile from the home at 3:15. Now, maybe not in this slideshow screenshots, but in some audio message, an audio message what I showed you on my channel recently by Elisha. Elisha said, we hadn't even got to the party house. We weren't even 3 miles near to the party house or 3 miles away from the party house. So they're much further back. Interesting. So there's discrepancies after discrepancies. Picking her up a mile from the party house at 3:15, which is weird, isn't it? But he was asleep at 2 in the morning to 2:30, so 45 minutes to an hour later after he loaded her and went back to sleep, and you showed an hour from the home to pick her up on the side of the road. Again, I'm not accusing it. This is how a rumor gets started, is someone, something, and just runs with it. Is there a way to possibly simplify? This convo, which we've already looked at before, who's it with? Is it Justin or somebody else? May 7th, 2024. What time did Kaden Pressy hear Jack and Noah arguing again? The heated argument about the girls. And which one then? Past midnight Saturday going into Sunday morning, early hours? Or the Monday morning argument? Well, Elisha's response was 3 a.m. on Sunday. That's not really past midnight, is it? It's beyond. Kaden, when talking about the argument that he overheard between Noah and Jack, some interpreted it as Saturday night, but Kaden worded it as past midnight, early hours of Sunday. Yet Elisha's wording it as 3 hours later when it happened on the Sunday. Okay, so we've got a time difference. Is it major? Yeah, a 3-hour time difference is major from what Kaden says to what Elisha says. Unusual. But it's like how it's mentioned, even though it's separate messages, it's like, is it a part of the same sentence? That, 3 a.m. on Sunday is when Kaden heard Jack and Noah arguing and when Georgia was leaving. That's how I interpret it. Well, we've heard from Elisha to some extent that it was happening on a Monday there. We've heard from already in the screenshot, one of Breely's sisters. It was on the Monday, September 4th. It was around 2 a.m. or just a bit before. And yet Elisha's wording it as when Georgia was leaving, as in what? I know it's a separate message, but when you say 3 a.m. on Sunday, you're answering the person's question. But then to say when Georgia was leaving, what's that about? At least from the context what we got here, the person wasn't asking anything about Georgia, so why did Elisha decide to add it in? And is it a part of the same sentence as the timing of the argument? Because from what Kaden had said, Georgia Breely, specifically Georgia, because that's who Kaden was focused on at the time, showed up on a Sunday, did not leave, but showed up for the first time on a Sunday, and it was at like 10:30 p.m. into the evening. So why would Elisha be saying Georgia was leaving before she even arrived at the party? That's just weird, isn't it? Besides that, also said the undersheriff wants to talk to Kaden. Undersheriff, is that Jimmy Williams, I believe? So yeah, this one was confusing. Well, it's just an anonymous member on the army page. She probably agrees that the appropriate answer is what I stated, none of your business. What I do find funny is people hiding behind their anonymous title and keyboard. Well, Facebook provides it, doesn't it? Maybe we should scrap it. What do we have here? Some response to Anita. There is a reason for being anonymous. You of all people should understand. In response to Breely, which is, the Breely, also known as BG, Breely, friends to Georgia, the one that was at the party. Breely left the party house before 3 a.m. on September 4th. Well, Breely's sister says they left by 2 a.m. So there's a 1-hour time difference there. Discrepancy. Time has to be confirmed. She drove herself back to Comanche. Whoa, who's she? What, Breely drove herself back to Comanche? Doesn't seem to be the case there. Because from what Breely's sister said, Breely needed her other sisters, to come on down to drive her and Georgia back home because they were too drunk. She had interactions with people down on the highway. Well, that could be true if it's to do with Melissa and Elisha pulling over. She was safely driven back to Comanche. She. Who's she? Are we talking about Breely still, or are we talking about Georgia? She has valuable information she can share either publicly or with Ellie's agency, which after 10 months, I sure hope she had a conscience to do so. Isn't that interesting that we uncover new names and new facts, Anita? Breely and or Georgia, why are they valuable? Why did they have valuable information? What do they have to offer? You know? Even if it was before 3 a.m. and they'd left, well, no, it's been said, and we've not seen many counters since, Noah Presgrove had left the party, walked away at 3:30. So, yeah, I could understand if, and it's not the case, but if Georgia Breely had left the house after 3:30, then it would be more significant because it'll be at the time when Noah walked away. Did Breely Georgia come by Noah? Did they see him? Was he at the highway by then or what? But that's not the case because the reality is, from what we've heard over time, it was around 2 or just before 2 when Breely Georgia left. Kaden, wherever Kaden was, no, Presgrove still at the party and alive from the looks of it. So, you know, the earlier you are there, the earlier you have left, you might not be as much interest. The exception is Kaden Pressy that was there for most of it, right? And all the way through, but being asleep, you wouldn't have seen much. Not a key witness, not a witness to much. Then, what's this one? From what point of view? And went to sleep, I asked if he saw Noah, and he said the last time he saw Noah, he was mad at a girl and was going to take a shower. I believe in the white-ish box on the left-hand side is Elisha. We may have done a video on this already to do with additional screenshots. I asked if Kaden saw Noah, and Kaden said the last time he saw Noah, he was mad at a girl and was going to take a shower. Mad at what girl? And is that in correlation? Is that linked to the bedroom debacle where Noah was having an argument with Avery because wouldn't be able to sleep in a bed, called her a fat beep and walked away? If that's really the case, it's in the wrong order, because what we've heard ever since and over again is side-by-side rollover supposedly, followed up with shower, followed up with some of the little bits and bobs in between, then followed up with specifically the bedroom argument, the sleeping situation. By then, 3:30, now just walking away to cool off because of being frustrated and rejected in a sense when it comes to sleeping arrangements. There is a screenshot there from, I believe, iMessenger, possibly. Yeah, iMessages, to do with Kaden and Elisha, to do with the timing of the party, specifically back then. And it was Kaden reaching out at 12:48 in the morning of Monday to say, hey, to his mum, Elisha, Georgia, not well, thrown up, sick, drunk too much, if you remember. Elisha says, this is me texting my sister-in-law at 1:45 in the morning. Right, so it's been reposted, basically, I guess. Those photos, what you see there, are what Kaden sent to Elisha, but then Elisha has forwarded them, reposted them through iMessenger specifically to sister-in-law Melissa being the mother to Georgia. Okay. Do we have a time stamp? It's hard to tell on there, but it seems like a message was sent first, and then I guess followed up with a call at 1:51 based on Elisha's call logs, I guess so, or 1:53 around that time. Texting before calling, I guess, maybe because you don't want to awaken or alert the person too much because of the sound of a call compared to the sound of a text. Okay, 1:45 and then 1:51. Small time span. No real urgency, you could argue, from Elisha. Sometimes when things are very important, you probably call instead of text. Calls can be a bit more direct, upfront, straight to the point. Text, people may not always see them immediately. Onto this one, Facebook Messenger, I believe. Is it Elisha? I personally don't know because it's a different profile picture, I believe. So a person said, so it just hasn't been said that Kaden left and came back to the party when all this stuff was going on. I mean, you would think since you're coming in at like 3:30 that you're going to hear that Noah's missing, and being the good kid, you don't go out looking for him. And even if you don't hear that he's missing because they don't say anything other than that stupid Snapchat post, that was 3:41 though. You don't see anything happening. Like, I just don't feel good about that. What the hell is this about? Cade. So it just hasn't been said. It has not been said that Kaden left and came back to the party. What the hell's that on about? Kaden has never said himself that he left the party. Never, ever. Not in that sense. The time when Kaden claims to have left the party is post-death of Noah and all that news coming out, and it was supposedly at 7 in the morning, which is contested by others. Is it more like a scenario in a sense? Anyway, person responds, terror, whatever that is, I agree. Have you talked to Elisha? Not sure even how to bring that up with her. It's something people like the Howards and Newtons would jump on to discredit Kaden. We don't have to jump on to discredit Kaden when Kaden and Elisha themselves, with time and how it's unwinded, they've contradicted themselves, discrediting themselves, unfortunately. It's something sensitive to even discuss with her or Kaden, but you're right, yes, it's a discrepancy. Response, no, but I don't really know how to bring it up. But I mean, I need to bring it up because it's in that second party chat thing. So I mean, now Becky Matlock has seen it, so that's what Stevie's been talking about all the time. The language and wording I don't quite like, personally. Besides that, oh, terror, right, what a name, interesting name. So what is left out of that message is Kaden wasn't drunk that night because he was watching over his niece. If Kaden wasn't drunk that night, and if it crosses into Monday morning, depending on the time, well then when Noah Presgrove asked for a ride home and Kaden said, no, I can't, I've been drinking, I'm drunk. Why? It's, Do we actually know of the time of when Noah did reach out wanting a lift home and was asking different partygoers and first asked Kaden? Does Kaden know the time of when that happened? If it's around the time of when Breely, Georgia was still present at the party, then Kaden should have been following his sober self then. Sober enough for that. What's sober enough to drive to? Maybe not completely out of his system. You could understand the cautiousness with Kaden. And with Kaden getting in trouble with the police at the age of 18, parked up in a car park, drunk, alcohol, but resting, sleeping it off, still getting in trouble for that, taken in by police. I'm sure Kaden didn't want a repeat of that down the line, so he was being safe, he was being cautious, and from what Kaden said, Noah understood him at the time and it was no big deal. But upon reflection afterwards, feeling guilty, Kaden was like, should have done more, it eats me up inside, I should have given Noah a ride home. But would it have been practical if, with the drinking situation? I think people are interpreting what Kaden says with absolute confidence in just words. So when Kaden says at 10:30 p.m. Sunday night when my cousin Georgia had showed up, I sobered up. And from there on then, what? Oh, just sober, not drunk anymore. I think people may take the words too literal. I think there's still that possibility that Kaden was drunk or it wasn't completely out of his system and that's why he couldn't give Noah a ride home. And even if Kaden was supposedly sobering up, it didn't last long because he did end up going to sleep, didn't he? So he wasn't looking out for Georgia at all times. Not that he should be expected to in a sense because he wasn't expecting her to come down in the first place. It was an added responsibility. But Elisha was at the time okay, and even after the drunk situation photo, Elisha was okay in her still being there despite being underage and drunk around others older, providing that Kaden would watch over her. So there was a level of leniency, no urgency. You could interpret it that way. Besides that, what else do we have? Because Kaden was watching over his niece. Wait. I know my mind goes a bit dumb at times. Niece is different to cousin, right? It's Elisha's niece. It's Kaden's cousin. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I've said that correctly. Weird. Kaden didn't want the guys doing anything with to her. He is what told he. Oh my God! He told us, me and Elisha, but then it's been said that Kaden wouldn't take Noah home because he was drunk. Yeah, he was the one. I'm almost certainly certain that he was the one that met Elisha about a mile away, and then he went back to the party. Certainly certain, but not absolutely confident with 100% accuracy of what you think, what you may remember. I've never heard personally, Kaden driving so far down the highway just to drop off Georgia. If Kaden was to drive Georgia down the highway so far for Elisha and Melissa, drop off point, why? Why would Kaden drive Georgia a mile away down the highway from the party house to meet Elisha and Melissa, when Elisha and Melissa are not drunk, but Kaden supposedly is? You're saying that Kaden turned down Noah, his friend, because Kaden was too drunk to drive, but Kaden was perfectly okay in driving his cousin down the highway. Yeah, likely Kaden didn't do either. Right? So this is from members of the general public. This could be how it all got confusing, right? Anyway, but why is the story the only one that says Noah is mad and he's going to take a shower? Yeah, I've never heard it worded that way before. Noah, it's been described that Noah was mad or frustrated, but that was after the shower. It was just after the bedroom debacle because of what went there. Tara says, and on that podcast, it's saying that this girl's cousin told her that after the side-by-side wreck, there was a nurse there that checked Noah over and said he was okay and he went back to partying. Really? And only Noah? A CNA is not a nurse, and everybody has been commenting on the bath video and how he looked unconscious. Oh, how he looked unconscious back then. This person called Tara referring to that, and in recent time, Michael Facecas, just a few days ago, mentioning he was given material or a photo, blurry, bad quality, and was told by others that, from a group chat called Dark Side, that it was Noah unconscious, when it's also quoted here at some point in the past. But, everybody has been commenting on the bath video. But did everybody see the bath video? No, only so many did, and that was back then. Now, the people that I saw commenting on the bath video, they said that it was from behind, looking at Noah's back, and Noah was stood up, slightly leaning hunched forwards, and that was basically it. But they're saying how he looked unconscious. Well, to be unconscious, likely you're going to be on the ground, not stood up. So there are discrepancies with what Tara is roughly re-quoting or suggesting compared to first-hand accounts, witnesses that saw the supposed video. And you could see the gash on his head in the video. Really? And Jasmine said that when she was sharing him, what does that mean? She didn't notice anything on his head. I'm turning all these pictures into the state nursing board. I've got to get all the names. Tara, I don't know what's going on here with their language and wording, but not to jump too far, just in case there's some truth to it, but from raw interpretation, this person and how they word stuff, they're the type of person to cause confusion and then spread it about and other people take it as a fact, and then it all unwinds and it just doesn't work well. Besides that, and actually, it's just Jasmine, but Caleb's sister too, for the boating accident. But I know her name. She is a nurse practitioner now and has a bunch of specialists in several different things, whatever that is. You're right to feel uneasy about it. Weird. What else do we have? Elisha to Lelia. or Lalia, says, "Oh, I apologise. I thought it was right before he fell asleep. My apologies. Was there one right before he fell asleep, or is that just when he saw them all in the kitchen? And thank you so much for correcting that." A member of the general public had to supposedly correct it because Elisha was confused, and Elisha is the mother to Kaden, and Kaden is the one that recorded his clip from his point of view. So what the hell is going on between mother and son communication? Goodness. Elisha then says, "When I called Kaden at 2:42 to tell him I had his cousin, that is when he looked around in the party house whilst on the phone with me and was able to see where everyone was. He said he was going to sleep." Is that Sam? It may have been corrected by Elisha at some point, and what was previously stated by Elisha was through a misunderstanding, possibly. And maybe out of sync, members of the general public may have first-hand seen the incorrect info or the corrected info, and then they've looked back at the older info or the later info out of context and are wondering which one's which. It's very unfortunate, that, isn't it? But what we can say is, it is somewhat factual that at 2:42, Elisha did call Kaden. In regard to the actual phone call conversation, hard evidence-based calls, we don't have that, but we do at least, and we have seen previously, the call log provided by Elisha to whoever. And the call log showed at 2:42 making that call to Kaden. So that can be confirmed and backed up there, which is a positive. That's what we need. And that little photo or screenshot from the video, that's September 3rd, and that's at 10:50 p.m. We've seen it before. This particular one, partners in true crime interview with Kaden. Is this a transcript or is this a comment from somewhere? The aspect ratio is different. 2,000 hours. Really? Oh, wait, hold on a minute. This might be the timestamp in the Parts in True Crime interview with Kaden. 20 minutes and 12 seconds into the interview. Around 2:43, 2:42, same thing. And my mom called me saying that she had picked up my cousin. Picked up my cousin. As in on the way home, as in already been dropped off. That's where the confusion was back then. Couldn't quite understand the clarity of it. Besides that, because they were worried about her, and they picked her up about a mile or so down the road because they noticed her location was moving, and told her pull over. She was in the car with her friend, and they picked her up and called me, and I went right back to sleep after that. Right back to sleep after 2:42, give or take, 5-10 minute call convo on phone. Well, Kaden said he went back to sleep at 3 a.m, so, okay, a bit of a long phone call. But police interview, how Kaden words it, different times, and that's a problem. A mile or so down the road, says Kaden, Elisha said in her own words, her own voice, that they didn't even get within 3 miles of the party house. So there's that. So Kaden says one thing, Elisha says the other. A few discrepancies there. Not too much context there as in who was driving them, right? Because it says Georgia and a friend who were moving in a car. But no mention of Breely's sister that was driving, one of Breely's sisters driving, because Georgia and Breely were drunk. So, yeah, it's a bit of a problem. Moving on. And yeah, I think you said that 3:20 was when, your mum called. And was Noah present then? I thought he was present, so I just went back to sleep. Didn't really think about it. Okay. This is some kind of transcript from the June 2024 police interview, which was just close to a month earlier, before the Partners in True Crime one. It's a problem. 3:20 being the time of going back to sleep, Kaden says, yeah. And at the time, whatever time that was, before Kaden went back to sleep, the beginning of Kaden being awoken by Elisha calling, but at a later time, not at 2:42, even though that is a fact because it's backed up with the call log of Elisha. Supposedly it was after 2:42, it was later when the call was made, which is incorrect. But that's how it was mentioned in the police interview, which is a problem. So once the call was done, and Kaden's like, well, I'm going back to sleep. It wasn't 3 a.m. Kaden says, hey, yeah, I went back to sleep at around 3:20. That's a problem. Massive discrepancy. 10 minutes off from when Noah supposedly was going to walk away and leave the house. So the later Kaden goes back to sleep, the higher the chances of he would have seen, or more likely to have seen or heard something compared to if he went back to sleep earlier. So it's quite major, I would say that. But around 3:20, when Kaden was supposedly looking around, how it was worded in the police interview, Kaden did acknowledge about Noah being present. But then when re-questioned about it, Kaden changed it to, oh, well, I didn't actually see Noah present. I just assumed he was still there. That's a major issue, that. For Kaden to say, around 3:20, I did not see Noah. I just assumed he was still there. Yeah, he probably still was about, but just not in line of sight with Kaden. So what was Noah doing at 3:20? Was Noah Presgrove more in the kitchen area around the blind spot corner getting the yogurt, ramen noodles? Or was he having a shower? Was he teabagging? At what point? If we knew of the timings of the video clips, which have never been released before, of these different events, we could compare and contrast to the transcripts of what Kaden had said in the police interview. Yeah. What else do we have here? Went to sleep and 3. Yeah, right, because that's when your mum called and said that she was okay. And yeah, transcripts, I wouldn't say that good are. They're a bit messy. 19 minutes, 45 seconds into the interview of the police one, Kaden says, I go back to sleep around 3:20 in the morning after answering the phone call. Yeah, right, because that's when your mum called. You got the number 3 there. So basically, to compare and contrast, yeah, Kaden in Partners in True Crime interview said, my mum called me around 2:43, 2:42 in the morning and went back to sleep at 3 in the morning from the previous screenshots. Police interview, Kaden says, yeah, 3 in the morning, yeah, right, because that's when your mum called. And Kaden says, I go back to sleep at around 3:20. Going back to sleep at 3:20. So why does Kaden elsewhere on Facebook, statement-wise, first one made in the past, to Partners in True Crime interview, why did Kaden state it as went back to sleep at around 3 in the morning? But in the police interview says, no, it was actually 3:20 going back to sleep. It's an important time difference, that. Because the later Kaden goes to sleep, the more he may have seen or heard with the events with Noah. Very interesting. Different point of view from the interview. 1 hour, 58 minutes, 30 seconds into the police interview with Kaden. Driving, I don't know. I haven't talked to Kathy Bingham like that, No, real quick, before I lose it, at 3:20, when you talk to your mom about when you, yeah, is the police talking to Kaden, or is Kaden talking to police when it says when you talk to your mom? When you talk to your mom, when you, maybe this came before that. No, it wouldn't have done, because that's 1 hour 58. That's 19 minutes into the interview. OHP interview transcript. Somewhere around there, and I end up passing out after that, and my mum calls me around 3 a.m. to let me know that she has Georgia and she's okay, because, just out of curiosity, because that's the whatever. There we go. Says Kaden, in his words, says around 3 a.m. is when his mum called. What Kaden says there to police is incorrect. Kaden's mum has the call log, and it states 2:42 in the morning to Kaden. 2:42 is the correct time, and Kaden has acknowledged that himself in Partners in True Crime. The Partners in True Crime interview came after the police interview, so maybe what was said earlier in the police interview was incorrect, and then it was corrected in the Partners in True Crime one, which is unfortunate, because the Partners in True Crime one is more on YouTube. The police one is more official and serious, so it's unfortunate the timing of it, I guess. Was it corrected with police afterwards, though? Because it's not correct. It can't be true that it's around 3 a.m. It has to be 2:42, because Elisha's call log shows her making a call to Kaden at 2:42. Right? So you let me know what you think's going on there. Jamie to Ali. He went to sleep, he said, after he dropped his cousin off down the street around 3:15. Well, he, as in Kaden did this and Kaden did that, and Kaden, despite being drunk and turning down Noah's request of driving him back home, but was able to drive the cousin down the street, as in the highway, at 3:15 to meet up with Elisha. Jamie's speaking on behalf of Kaden, what Kaden has said, and I've never seen or heard Kaden ever say that, so what the hell is Jamie doing here? It's rather problematic, if I do say myself. As well, Jamie says he did, but Noah lives 30 miles away. That is incorrect. It's actually 40 plus miles, 44 miles, I believe. Not the end of the world, but just thought I'd put that out there. And he only drove his cousin a mile down the street to meet his aunt and mum. It's not a street, it's a highway. So, oh goodness. So what Jamie says here, from what I know of, Kaden has never said. If people see this before they see Kaden, they might believe in it. And that's what enhances the misunderstandings and beyond. Now, this one is Elisha. Even though it's been blurred out, the profile picture is to do with Elisha, Kaden's mom, right? I can tell. Elisha said, I guess as in Kaden said, Noah wasn't outside when he, as in Kaden, was waiting on the porch with Georgia. I know we arrived about a mile away around 3:15. It can't be 3:15. And it can't be a mile away from the party house, because Elisha, in her own words, I think it was in 2024, and we've only just recently discovered it, and it was shown on my channel recently, on Facebook Messenger audio message between Elisha and I believe Joyce Bergow. And Elisha had said to Joyce that we weren't even 3 miles near or away from the party house, and yet Elisha back then had said, oh, we're a mile away from, the party house? And we arrived at 3:15. That is when we saw Georgia's location moving, and my sister-in-law called her and told her to tell a friend to pull over. We got Georgia in our car and drove her home. In other convos, Elisha had worded it as driving along, Melissa doing the driving, and passing by. Sorry about that. Passing by Georgia and Brealey. In other ways, how Elisha's worded it, depending on how you interpret it, whether it be mentioned here or in another convo by Elisha, as in, 3:15, we arrived. Arrived a mile away from what? The party house? Arriving normally incorporates parking up. You've arrived at the hotel, you've arrived at somebody's house, you've arrived at a shop. is when you become stationary. You may stay in your car waiting for something, waiting for someone, or you just get out. But your car stops. Once you arrive somewhere, that's the end of the journey for that point. So how I interpret this previously was they got so far down the highway, they arrived and stopped, looked at the fare and parked on the hard shoulder, noticed Georgia Brealey moving and made a call and said, you need to pull over, and pulled over near to them and did the swap that way. Well, not swap, the exchange. However, ever since, and Elisha has worded it herself, but they were driving down and they drove past Brealey in Georgia. And so they had to make a call, say, hey, you going on up north, you need to pull on over. Then Melissa and Elisha having to turn around on the highway to go back north. But 3:15, I just can't imagine it being 3:15. And the way we know why it's not going to be 3:15, I mean, does it complement what Kaden said here? Mum called me around 3 to let me know that she has Georgia. It's spelled incorrectly here, the transcript. It should be a J, not a G. But either way, even if it was 3 in the morning, and that's when Elisha and Melissa had obtained Georgia, well, 15 minutes later, Elisha's wording it as, we arrived, and then after that, that's when we noticed Georgia moving and having to tell her to pull on over to collect her. That still does not tie in line with the incorrect statement by Kaden here, that based on call logs, and only the call logs, the timing, the date, 2:42, Elisha called Kaden. We have Georgia, interpreted as on the way back, probably setting off from the highway, hard shoulder, with Georgia to go back home. Okay. 2:42. There'd be no reason for 3:15 to exist, because if you've already got Georgia at around just before 2:42, hence why Elisha herself makes the call to Kaden, the son, to say, yeah, 2:42, we've got your cousin, we've got Georgia. So then why at 3:15 would you have to tell Georgia to pull in over and pick her up if you already got her at 2:42? Stupid, isn't it? And I know people can get confused and wonder what time is what really is happening. Just look back at the hard evidence from Elisha's call log, and we've shown it. I've seen it. I've shown you. You've seen it. 2:42. Call made to Kaden. You can interpret that as must be the time. And it backs up what Kaden had said, at least in the Partners in True Crime interview of around 2:42-43. Partners in True Crime said it in their own words in, I think, a later podcast. So this 3:15 is more of an anomaly, and it's incorrect. Pretty much it. Did anything else happen at 3:15 then? The only mention of 3:15 has come up in convo by the likes of Justin Roy that said radio silence from the party, very quiet, not much happening at that point, supposedly. Anyway, Elisha says, yeah. What else do we have here? When Georgia left, as I guess the party house, Kaden went back inside and went to sleep. I asked if he saw Noah, and he said the last time he saw Noah, he was mad at a girl and was going to take a shower. Well, why would Noah be mad at a girl and then about to take a shower when, from what we've heard of over time, is side-by-side rollover followed abruptly by a shower and being escorted to have a shower? Not enough time to argue. And why would Noah be arguing with anyone? What, because of the side-by-side rollover? Weird. Moving on. Is this the last one? It is. Okay, not too bad. Tim Daniel, and this was in the past as well. Is everyone going by Kaden's police interview of June or by his partners in True Crime interview of July 2024. They completely contradict each other in regard to the timeframe surrounding when his mother called and when his cousin was picked up and how she got to the roadside. Why is there such a huge discrepancy between his official police interview, which I'm inclined to think is most accurate because it involves Ellie, and his more casual parts in True Crime interview? I'm really wanting to finally nail down times and sort through all the discrepancies regarding what times are really accurate. This portion of the timeline is least accurate. It's also one of the most important to get correct because it is the last time Kaden says that he sees Noah whilst on the phone with his mom, specifically at 2:43. At 3:20 from the police interview of what Kaden states of when going back to sleep at 3:20, Kaden said he assumed Noah was there, not that he saw Noah. So there's a difference, isn't there? Here are all the references and so on. When did his mum call, etc. Right, so you heard me make countless references to that call log of Elisha, and you might be wondering, well, why not show it? Well, because I've shown it so many times in recent time on my previous videos. You can go and find it yourself. It will be there. With the exception of one video, what was taken down by YouTube. And that's one of the reasons to why I don't want to show it in this particular video, because the way YouTube is, or the way people are in the background, Elisha or anyone else that wants to get my videos taken down and reported by YouTube, it would only give ammunition once again. You get what I'm saying? I'm not risking that. You can look back at previous videos to try and find it, but I'm not risking it here. This is an important clip itself. Now, yeah, what Tim says, you'd hope to think, and with common sense, that a police interview should be more truthful. It might not have as much detail in regard to certain times, which is correct. Times given by Kaden and Pressy in regard to, I believe, Renee Milan arriving or leaving or when he left. Some times like that may have not been mentioned in the police interview, but were mentioned in parts in True Crime. Is that because the times weren't accurate or it wasn't confirmed? So you can't say that stuff in a police interview because then you're technically lying, and you want to be more honest and upfront. So if you don't know something, then you don't know it, and then you're not going to mention it. But then for the other stuff that you do know and want to be truthful with, and with it being a police interview and it being private, you're more likely to reveal that stuff and to talk about it, and so on. In parts in True Crime, with the interview that it is and where it's going public, specifically the part 1, Kaden may not be able to talk about certain stuff. Okay, right. But when things are talked about in both interviews, but both interviews by Kaden give different times, that is a huge problem. And whilst the police interview says around 3 in the morning is when Elisha called Kaden to announce the news of Georgia in their ownership and on the way back home, whilst Tim Daniel would say, I'm more inclined to think that the police interview holds more truth because it's a police interview and what's said there should be more truthful, I'd say is incorrect, because the call log by Elisha mentions 2:42, not 3 in the morning. Maybe you could argue and say Kaden was estimating, somewhere around 3 in the morning, but actually I mean 2:42, but I can't remember it at the time. Then, a month or so later, parts in True Crime interview. Not as serious, not as full on, it's more open, right? Not as official, if you want to put it that way. And then Kaden remembers. No, it wasn't 3, it was 2:43. It was 2:42. A mistake made. But when you compare and contrast, if Kaden simply said, what I said in the police interview, I was wrong, and when it came to parts in True Crime, I remembered the time, because Elisha showed me her phone record of when she called me, and there we go. That extra context, that extra layer was never included, so ultimately we wouldn't know. What's said in the police interview as well, highway footage, tampering with evidence, shorts removal, Kathy Bingham having the video showing it to Kaden. And yet Kathy Bingham said never had a video of it, and then some other stuff along the way. The most important interview, the police one, more is said, but maybe not with absolute truth. And that in the semi-informal interview, there might be a bit more truth to that, but not complete. you can't really pick one out over the other. Both are as bad as each other in some ways. Both lack something. That's what I would say, Tim. So unfortunately, you can't just choose one over the other. The only other possible would be the 2023 interview with Kaden Pressy, which has never been released. What was said then? What was said about that? How does that differ to the 2024 interviews? Will we ever know? Anyway, what would I conclude it with how much of a mess it's been? Based on hard evidence in 2:42, the call made by Elisha to Kaden announcing the news that Georgia is on the way home, on the highway, making it home. Breely's sister and other sisters that were the ones to be arriving at the party house at the time, around 2, when Breely and Georgia were to leave around 2, round it up to 2 in the morning. 2 in the morning, 1:51, Elisha contacts Melissa by call. 1:45 by text, no response. 1:51 by call, immediate. Give or take, 10 minutes to round up to 2 in the morning. Elisha picked up by Melissa, I guess, at around 2 in the morning, or 2:05 in the morning. Already by then, Breely, Georgia, picked up by Breely's sister, another sister taking Breely's car home, going down the highway, already passing by likely the spot where Noah was later to be found. Around 2 onwards, Melissa and Elisha venturing onto the highway. 40 to 45 minutes driving on down to eventually get to that point where they meet, pass by or so. Eventually turn around, eventually tell them to stop, eventually pick Georgia up. And then at 2:42 makes the call, possibly, at 2:42 to say, hey, this is what's happened to Kaden. We're on the way back now. Maybe, something like that. It all comes down to the timing of 1:51 or so when Elisha called Melissa, and then how long it took Melissa to pick up Elisha to then be driving down the highway, for it to take 40 minutes, 45 minutes down to the highway to then cross paths with Breely and Georgia. But there's some truth to the 2:42, I guess. But depending on how long it takes normally, how long did it take that one time? Normally 45 minutes, but were they rushing a bit more because of the situation? Could they have got down there quicker to justify that 2:42 call made? I've tried simplifying it there. Don't know if it's any easier for you. But if you found the video interesting, feel free to hit the thumbs up, share the video so more people see it. And yeah, it just shows the extent of, it's not just Elisha, how she words stuff. It's not just Kaden, how he words stuff. It's how some of the general public speak on behalf of them as well. It's all as bad as each other. If at the end of the day, appropriate language and wording and honesty was used, you wouldn't have this much chaos. Well, here we are. We'll see what happens next. I think I might continue on with the Kaden Pressy text and summarise that from there tomorrow, day after. Be on the lookout for that. My name's Wallite Raff. See you next time. Goodbye for now.